Music City Social is produced by Star Maker PR Group, providing publicity and public relations services to the entertainment industry. Learn more at starmakerpr.com. Promotional consideration provided by
tinyprcampaign.com, your low-cost, high-impact national publicity campaign for only $249. Start your campaign today at tinyprcampaign.com.
Carolyn Martin never had a record deal, but that didn't stop her from releasing 5 CDs of her own, and they sell. Her music is not poised to compete with Taylor Swift or Faith Hill, but that's intentional. Carolyn Martin has found a niche. Her music has a fresh sound, but it's primarily based on the classic styles of Bill Monroe, Patsy Cline, Dottie West, and Brenda Lee. Her niche is not created from careful market research or test groups. It's born out of love. Love for the music that inspired her in her youth. Music is like a limb for Carolyn, not an add-on. It's not something she does just to make a living, it's what she does in order to live. Her music is in the style of music you'd hear in dance halls and VFW clubs some 50 to 60 years ago. Carolyn doesn't sing to keep this style of music alive, she sings because her music is alive. Her music does not require a lot of production. In fact, too much emphasis on the quality or balance of her recordings would only distract from her real talent, her voice. Carolyn has found a niche as both a recording artist and a live performer. Anyone who knows Carolyn Martin will tell you she is a purist.
Tonight could finally be my chance to two-step into true romance. If music be the food...
Carolyn Martin, welcome to Music City Social.
Thank you, Drew. I'm so glad to be here.
I know. You and I, as we were just talking, it's the first time we've seen each other in probably 10 years.
At least 10 years.
And 20 years ago, you and your husband were kind enough to employ me.
Yes.
At a time when I needed it most. So I need to thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah, that was 1992 was, I had just gone through a divorce and everything was in transition, not finding much work. And you and David really, you reached out. You got me some gigs. You brought me on the John Deere gig, which there's a little story about that going up on musiccitysocial.net.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
love John Deere.
Love John Deere, yes. And you know what was funny is at the time I was just like, oh, thank God I have gainful employment for the winter and all that. But as I've told people about that gig, I mean, even today, people will say that is probably one of the best gigs a musician in Nashville could hope to find.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an unbelievably good gig.
Yeah, we had our weekends open. We traveled by bus.
They picked us up in Nashville. They pulled out in front of our house.
Yes.
And picked us up. I mean, we didn't really have to do anything except get on the bus, go do the gig. They brought us back to Nashville. We were home for the weekends. We could do gigs in Nashville.
Yeah.
They treated us like royalty.
They did. What was it, a 45-minute set?
Yes. Grueling.
Yeah.
A grueling 45-minute set. And I had a wireless mic, and I led everybody out of we played in the showroom.
Yeah.
Amongst the combines and tractors and all the big, beautiful, shiny equipment.
Gosh,
and then we would lead everyone to the dining room where we'd have a feast every night. Yeah. And gosh, it was just grueling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
Where are those gigs today? My gosh.
I don't know, but if you have one out there, please give me a call.
That's CarolynMartinMusic.com, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Carolyn, let's go back to the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I grew up, I was born and raised in Abilene, Texas.
How early did music become a part of your life?
Well, gosh, I'd have to say as early as, 5 or 6. I remember, listening. I had a little record player, and I listened to my little singles, 45s,
wow,
vinyl records. Of course, vinyl's getting popular again, but and I remember listening to music a lot of movie songs and Disney songs, and I remember one of my favorites was the theme from Old Yeller.
Oh wow!
And but I would pretend I would put on a blanket cape and use a spoon for a microphone and pretend that I was singing. I do remember that as just a little girl. And then, other things happened in my life, other interests. And when I was a teenager, my best friend, Lori, played violin. And her dad, his name was Benny Young. He's gone from us now, but he knew at least 2,000 songs.
Wow.
And he played guitar and banjo and harmonica. And they would have parties at their house and invite people over to play. It was like a big jam session. And I had never been exposed to anything like that before. My parents loved music and played records a lot. But, we never had people come over to our house with instruments and sit around and play until the wee hours. And so I was introduced to country music there for the first time. My dad loved American pop music, Frank Sinatra.
Oh, wow.
Ella Fitzgerald.
Some of my
and so
favorite.
I was exposed to that at home, and then I was introduced to country music and started hearing all these songs, and just a whole world opened up. I had been taking guitar lessons for a while, and figured out that with just a few chords I could play a lot of songs, but I was very shy. I was going through a period of my life where I was painfully shy, believe it or not. And I would go out in the backyard. No, I'm such a ham. I would go out in the backyard and sing where I thought nobody could hear me. And so Lori helped me come out of my shell, and she got a gig for us. And she talked me into doing this gig. It was at a place called Old Abilene Town. And we would play for 20 minutes, and then they would show silent movies for 20 minutes.
Wow. And how old were you?
18.
Wow.
17, 18. And somewhere around there. And Lori did all the singing. And one night, she somehow talked me into singing a song. And I did, and people applauded, and that was pretty much it.
Wow.
That I thought, this is great.
That's neat.
So, and I thought, I remember that night vividly, and I remember thinking, I really like this. This is what I want to do.
Yeah. You mentioned your parents listening to the older pop, the classics. Why do you think that didn't become maybe as much of an influence as country? I consider you a country artist.
Oh, really? Well, I think it was as much of an influence. I mean, what I do now with the Western swing and swing music, it's very much a part of that.
Interesting.
So,
wow. Were there people in your family that were musical, played instruments? Sang?
My brother dabbled in guitar. But that was all, and I, as far as I know, I never heard my parents talk about their parents playing an instrument, anything like that. Maybe I'm sure there was somebody generations back,
Yeah.
And my mom is a good singer.
Wow.
She always sang around the house.
That's neat.
So, but never publicly. Or as a professional singer, but she can sure carry a tune.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're 18, you get this gig.
Yeah.
You sing for the first time and people applaud.
Yeah.
What happens after that?
Well, we moved on to another. We got a second gig at a Mexican restaurant in Abilene. We were doing the restaurant circuit.
A natural next
in Abilene.
step.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then we started doing a few private parties. We got acquainted with a friend of Lori's who also sang and played guitar. We worked as a trio for a little while and just played at church events. We won the first award. We won the Freshman Talent Show at Hardin-Simmons University.
Wow.
With our medley. of songs, and you're probably going to ask me what we did. I know it was a friend medley. We did You've Got a Friend, What a Friend We Have in Jesus, and a third song that had something to do with friends. Wow. And we wore our freshman beanies and performed, and we took the top prize.
You and your husband David Martin own one of the nicest studios I've ever set foot in, Java Jive Studios. How did you and David meet?
I had known him on a very casual basis, and I hired him to play bass on my first recording project at Castle Sound Studios in Abilene, Texas. And we hit it off and began dating and talked about, going out, putting a band together and going out on the road. And before I knew it, that had happened. And we were out on the road with a band, and we had a booking agent. We played all over the United States. We did the famous, Holiday Inn circuit that people used to talk about. We actually did that. And, but we were having a great time, but we were going from town to town to town playing and honing our craft. But we needed to establish ourselves somewhere.
Right.
We figured that out finally. And we tried several different cities, but we had good friends here in Nashville who had encouraged us to come and live here. And so we talked about it for a while. We saved up some money because we knew that when we first moved here, the chances are that we weren't going to work right off the bat, which turned out to be true, very true. But we had enough money put by where we could get by for 6 months, and thankfully it didn't take that long. We actually got a gig after we were here about 6 weeks.
When was that you moved to Nashville?
1985.
85. So
yeah.
It's been a little while. In my opinion, you're very much a working musician. I mean, you do a lot of gigs.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah. Has it always been that way? Say after the Cajun's Wharf days, have you always been that busy or this busy?
Now, as far as number of gigs, I've been very fortunate. Now, this last year we've traveled more than we have in a while.
Why is that?
Well, the CDs that we've been releasing, we're finally getting a grip on this on this self-promotion idea.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, people talk about how much the music business has changed, and sometimes disparagingly so, but I think there's never been a more exciting time to be an independent artist, because there's so many outlets. I mean, the internet, CD Baby, wonderful thing for independent musicians. People like you doing this show. You can. There's opportunities to book your own gigs.
There's so many tools that you can use now that you can spread the word pretty quickly.
Oh, gosh,
with very little effort, which is neat. Well, let's talk about your CDs. I know of 3 that you have done. Is there more?
I have 5.
5.
Okay. Do you want me to just go in order?
Please.
The first one we did was back in 2004, and we were just talking about the American songbook type music. We did a whole CD of that. Called The Very Thought of You.
Neat.
And something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Now, I'm saying this was the first CD. We did recording projects before, and we actually have a vinyl album that we did back in, 1979.
Wow.
Maybe.
Neat.
And we did cassettes. Yeah. Everybody did cassettes for a while, and I think there's still some copies in our garage somewhere, probably dust covered, in a box somewhere. Nobody has a machine to play them anymore.
Right.
And we don't have any 8 tracks. We don't go back that far, but so anyway, 2004 we did The Very Thought of You. Did it with very simple instrumentation. guitar, bass, drums, piano, and but not just piano. I had two of the best pianists in the world play on that record, Beachy Adair and Laurie Meacham.
Oh, wow.
And
another
so
benefit of Nashville.
Oh,
just
yeah,
the talent
jazz
pool
workshop. Yeah, and it's not just people, and rightly so, think of Nashville as a country music hub, and it certainly is, but it's also becoming a hotbed of jazz music, rock music, indie music, Americana music. Whatever you do, there's other people that do that too,
Sure.
and there's an outlet for it here, some of the new radio shows coming along, Music City Roots, things like that. But anyway, just getting off on a tangent. But then after that, I had been a member when I did that album. I had been a member since 1999 of a group called the Time Jumpers. And the Time Jumpers are still around. I was in the group 11 years.
Wow.
And we played every Monday night at the Station Inn. They've moved on. They play every Monday night at 3rd and Lindsley here in Nashville now. And Vince Gill is in the group.
Oh, my
now.
goodness.
So they've been around for a long, long time. But when I was in that band, I got to really develop my Western swing chops, and Western swing has been a form of music that I have loved since I lived in Abilene. There was a place there called the Ponderosa Ballroom where I used to go, when I was old enough, and they had a live Western swing band there 7 nights a week with Elsie Agnew and the Dixie Playboys.
Wow.
And I fell in love with the sound of steel guitar and fiddles, together, and but the first years of my performing career, it was pretty much a case of we were out there just trying to survive, trying to make a living. So we played whatever they needed us to play. Right. It was like you get the call for the gig and you take the gig, and then you worry about what kind of music you're supposed to do. And I'm fortunate enough now, after all these years, I get to do the kind of music that is my forte, right, that I really love to do, and that's a really sweet position to be in. Sometimes I wish I had, some people start out doing that, and I admire that so much, to find your focus and stick to your guns and just do that. And it just took me a little while to get around to that, but I'm really, really enjoying it.
Now, is that you've done a CD on
Yes, we did.
Swing?
Our first one was called simply Swing. That was 2007. Then in 2010, we did one called Cookin' with Carolyn. And that won the Swing Album of the Year from the Western Music Association in 2011. That was really nice. Thank you very much. And in 2011, also, and this was a really, really big deal for me. I was inducted into the Texas Western Swing Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Down in San Marcos,
fabulous,
Texas. And then our new one, did I go through all 5? Very Thought of You, Swing, Cookin' with Carolyn. Tennessee Local is our brand new one. Oh, and then I did an album of Patsy Cline. I did a tribute to Patsy Cline.
I have a copy right here.
Yeah, yeah. And that also came out. 2011 was a busy year.
It sounds like
that also came out in 2011, and that is because I've been involved in a theatrical show that travels around the country with my friend Jason Petty, called Country Royalty, and I get to sing 13 Patsy Cline songs in that show. So I'm not only getting to do Western swing, I get to do Patsy Cline songs, and I'm just really sitting in the catbird seat.
That's neat. Now, is that show touring
and
now?
I still get to work, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. I cannot emphasize that enough. I love my job.
Oh, that's great. Well,
so
it shows.
Lucky.
Anybody who
Just
hears
lucky.
and sees you sing
Well,
would obviously figure that out.
well, thank you, Drew.
I want to talk about Songs of Patsy Cline, your
Yeah,
CD there.
yeah.
I ordered it last week. Got
You
it.
did. That
I've
was so
listened to it 7 or 8 times since
Oh, my
receiving
goodness.
it.
Well,
Well, I love it. I remember from the John Deere gig, we did
yeah.
at least 3 Patsy Cline songs,
yeah,
and just your
yeah.
voice is tremendous
thank you.
on those songs in
Thank
particular, in my humble opinion.
Well,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. I mean, there's a lot of that material is just so, there's so much depth, and she recorded songs by some of the greatest songwriters there ever have been. So,
and it sounds so simple, those recordings.
oh yeah, yeah.
But that's part of the beauty. It's complex.
Yeah.
In its own way. It's just
there's a whole novel in every song.
there is.
Yeah. Of the full range of human experience.
Yeah. Tell us about the show where you're singing these.
Oh.
Is that on tour right now?
It is. We the last time we performed it was in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, a couple of weeks ago, and we're done for the year.
Wow.
But we'll be back. Now, we're also doing another show with Jason called The Swingin' Cowboys. And we're going to be in Sanford, North Carolina, latter part of January and first part of February 2013, doing that. But we will continue to do country royalty. Now, you can go to my website, carolynmartinmusic.com, and all the dates are listed on the website.
Great,
So we
great.
will. I know first part of the year we've got some more dates up in Wisconsin, I believe, and we're going to Canada next year too to do country royalty
Neat.
show up in Winnipeg, I believe.
Now, how is
Excited about that. Never been to Canada.
How is that show? How are people finding out about it? How's it being booked and promoted?
With this show, we play what I would call medium-sized theaters, seat anywhere from 400 to 1,000 people, and we're booked into the theaters, and they all of them seem to have this amazing network of sponsors, both corporate sponsors, and they have their their season ticket holders and their patrons. And they get the word out, and then we also do before we go into a city, sometimes we'll do a radio interview. If we're there the day before, we'll do a TV spot. Neat. And we've had really good response. And one of the sweetest events places for me to do that show was Bass Hall in Fort Worth.
Oh wow.
And my mom came to the show. She had never been able to come to the show. She lives in Abilene still. Yeah. So it was a 2.5 hour drive for her, and she got some buddies and came to the show. And I don't know if you've ever been in Bass Hall, but it is a palace of the arts. It's
22
absolutely
years ago.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And for my mom to see me up on stage in that place with about 1,200 people in attendance, up on the stage of Bass Hall was just really sweet, and I got to acknowledge her, from the stage, and that was really neat.
Have your parents always been supportive of your music?
Oh my goodness, yes. They have, and my dad passed away in '95, and I wish. Gosh, if he could have been there that night, that would have been really just over the top. Because he would have been so proud. He was always proud of me and always encouraged me.
That's neat.
With the music thing. He loved music. He never played an instrument, but he loved to dance. He was a great dancer. I unfortunately did not get that gene.
Me either.
Gosh, boy, did I not get that gene. But he loved music.
Yeah. As I was saying, you do a lot of work. I mean, you do a lot of gigs.
Yeah.
And before moving to Nashville, I wasn't aware of the corporate industry. I mean, that's just it's a monster of an industry. And it's something that once you learn about it, you realize how big it really is. There's bands that's all they do and are virtually unknown outside of playing for IBM and Chevrolet. And do you get to do a lot of that work? We did the John Deere thing together.
We did.
That was corporate.
We did. I've done a lot of corporate gigs in Nashville through various booking agencies. Now, aside from John Deere, I haven't done any where we were kind of, picked up by the company and did a series of gigs for that company. It's always been sort of, do a gig for these people, do a gig for these people. And I've worked as a sideman with several band leaders in town who that's what they do. They do corporate parties, wedding receptions, bar mitzvahs. I've done a supermarket opening. Thank you very much.
Really?
I have.
Wow.
I have.
Is that on film?
You can be at Bass Hall in front of 1,200 people and feel like you're a star. The next day, you could be at a corporate party, strolling around with your guitar. No one can hear you. They can only see you, and they're not there. There's always something to bring you back down to earth.
Yes.
And then there's always something to make you fall in love with it all over again.
Yeah.
Every time I've had doubts or I thought, maybe this music thing isn't working out for me. Maybe I should think about doing something else. I mean, it's not 24 hours that something happens to restore my faith and make me fall in love with it all over again and think, I don't want to do anything else. It's not that I can't do anything else, but I don't want to do anything else.
Sure.
It's so rewarding. And, it's a happy addiction, I guess.
Since moving here, have you taken any other jobs? Were there ever times when...
Oh yeah, I was a temporary employee. I gave out samples at supermarkets and stuff like that.
Oh,
crazy things. I washed cars. I delivered phone books.
Yeah.
One winter in the snow and the ice.
That will make you appreciate music.
It certainly did. It certainly did. Oh yeah, yeah.
I personally, I had trouble making a full-time ongoing income as a drummer. And because of that, it led me into other things, and I'm happy I did so. But how has the music business been for you financially? And I'm not asking for bank records.
Oh no.
But has it been consistent enough that it's been worthwhile?
Yes. But I have to say, because my husband and I are a team, because the income from the studio and from him doing recording sessions for other people, I mean, there have been many months where, if we didn't have his income, if I had been a single person trying to make it just with music, I couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But because we're a team, we've been fortunate, very fortunate, in that we've always been able to pay our bills, and and we've also always been willing to do almost any sort of music gig.
Sure.
You don't turn down a gig.
Carolyn Martin continues to write, record, and tour in various bands. She's one of the most talented singers I've ever met, and definitely the most pleasant singing voice you will ever hear. You can learn more about Carolyn Martin by visiting her website at carolynmartinmusic.com.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Music City Social. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on Music City Social, please visit musiccitysocial.net and click the Recommend a Guest link at the top of the page. Music City Social is produced by Star Maker PR Group, providing publicity and public relations services to the entertainment industry. Learn more at starmakerpr.com. Promotional consideration provided by
tinyprcampaign.com, your low-cost, high-impact national publicity campaign for only $249. Start your campaign today at tinyprcampaign.com.
Super Rope Cinch. Secure anything with rope without ever tying or untying a knot. Learn more at superropecinch.com.